All right. Welcome back, everybody. If you've gotten this far, you are ready to go ahead and launch Jupyter Notebook. If you don't have Anaconda Navigator installed, just go ahead and see the previous video. I'm going to go ahead and launch Jupyter Notebook, and that's going to bring up in my web browser, whichever web browser is the default for your computer, it's going to bring up a directory structure which looks a little bit like this. This will be like the file browser that you have for your operating system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start a new notebook, and I'm going to choose Python 3 here. It's going to bring up an environment that looks like this. There's a couple of key features here I just want to point out. The first one is the input value right here. That's for providing input into the Python language. And at its very basic, Python is just a calculator. For example, I can just say 2 plus 2, and then if I hit Shift return, it will evaluate that output as 4. So now I've got an input there, 2 plus 2. I've got an output of 4. All of our other operators work as well. If I do 4 divided by 2, again, Shift enter, that gives 2.0. If I do 1 divided by 3, Shift enter, that gives me a decimal point. I can go ahead and do multiplication, and then Shift enter. So it's an interactive calculator that lets you do some calculations like that. Now, if I want to clear this out, all I need to do is click on it and hit Edit, Delete Cells. Okay, so you can select more than one at a time, and I can hit Edit. If you want to delete it all, I can Shift click all of these things, and I can say Edit, Delete Cells, and that will delete everything. Okay. Other things you might want to do with your calculator is calculate things like sines and cosines. So if I say sine of 10, and then I hit Shift return, it tells me that sine is not a thing. And the reason for that is because sine is not a preloaded function for your Python code. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And I'll delete this one as well. And we get to our first step in using Python, which is how to import libraries. So we're going to import our math libraries. And I can do that by typing import math. And then I'm going to say as m. So what that means is all of my math libraries are going to be preceded by m to indicate that they're math functions. So now that is imported math. So now I can say m.sine, and that will give me an actual answer. Now you'll notice that if you do, if I go over here to Google and I type sine of 10, that defaults to 10 radians. So it's the same thing as what I had over here. This defaults to radians. So if I want to put this in degrees, I'm going to have to convert this by saying 10 times m.pi, right, which is the constant pi divided by 180. And then that's going to give me the sine of 10 degrees. Okay, so math gives you access to things like sine. It gives you access to constants like pi. It gives you access to cosine. It also gives you access to things like e. So this is e to the second power, and pretty much anything you can think of, any math function that you can imagine, arctangents and cosecants and all sorts of things are there in the math library. So for our purposes, we're going to be installing and using quite a few libraries in this class. And I'll mention those as we go along, which libraries we're going to need, whether we're going to need the math library or the NumPy library or the SciPy library. But for right now, let's just worry about the math library, because that's going to get us what we need at the moment.